Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to Transcending Together with Julianne and Lee. Good afternoon, beautiful and amazing human beings. Thank you very much for joining us. I hope you're having a good afternoon. It's a hello from me.
And it's a hello from Lee.
So, we had this. First of all, please excuse me. I have a bit of flu, so I apologize. That's why my nose is all red. um, so we had this great show planned. We were going to do a takedown of Suella Braverman, but of course she got the boot on Monday. So we thought, well, since we had put all the research and time in, we thought we'd do it anyway, almost as a requiem for just so that we have it on the record just how absolutely awful she was. So, so Lee, what are your thoughts on our? I kept thinking about that song "Ding Dong, the Witch Is Gone." I think I'll have to insert it in here somewhere.
Yeah, so Suella, I like to call her Cruella Braverman. I think it was inevitable, though, that she was going to get sacked, really. I don't think Richie Sunak had any more width to continue with her, and yeah, I think it was inevitable, and the timing. I think it's interesting that the timing because he's kind of like preempted what might come out of the Rwanda case later on during is it this week? So I think he's gotten ahead of the pack there.
Yeah, Wednesday. Well, it's with the Supreme Court. So are you saying so the Supreme Court is going to rule today, actually? I'm not sure if they've ruled yet. Um, so do you think he was what do you think they sort of gave him a heads up that they were going to overturn it or something?
Who knows? But rather than wait for her to then have the ball in her court and go, if the Rwanda case went against what she was hoping for, she could then use that as like, I'm going to resign now. So I think by preempting that strike and actually sacking her, I think it was a bit of a gamble, but it might just be the one to take.
I mean, I do get the sense that the winds have shifted because I say this every week. I just don't think the things that she's concerned about are things are election issues. I don't think that's what people are going to be thinking about when we go to the polls. Um, I mean, you have to wonder how long you can keep going. You know, what a mess. So he's had to bring back David Cameron.
David Cameron, yeah, surprise, surprise, because he's not even a sitting MP anymore, is he? So they've
I
had
was
to make
wondering
him
about that.
they've given him a lifetime peerage so that he's in um, the House of Peers, the House of Lords, and therefore he can sit on the government cabinet.
Oh, really? I was wondering about that. So if you're in the House of Lords, you can actually take up a cabinet post. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, yes.
Hmm, interesting. I tell you what, let's bring him back to fix Brexit, since it happened on his watch. So let's bring him back to do that, shall we? Um, yeah, interesting. So, but back to our good friend Suella. So Cruella Braverman. She obviously made a complete mess over the weekend, citing up right-wing rioters. And that also just reinforced to me people are just not interested in that kind of nonsense at the moment. Um, did you watch any of that over the weekend? Did you see any of that?
I saw some sort of like news highlights and things like that. Yeah. Um, I mean, it was inevitable, wasn't it? You know, there was always going to be some kind of clash incident. Um, I think it was pretty well contained, perhaps due to our wonderful Met Police. But you know, the thing that it actually happened, you know, I think that's it was inevitable, really.
Yeah, she just stirred up so much aggression. And I think this is the point, isn't it? Is that they don't, these right wingers, these crazy right wingers, think that they've got a huge following just because their following is noisy. And I think that I like to believe that the average, whether you conservative or Labour or Lib Dem, whatever you are, I think most people have a genuinely good sense of what's wrong and right. And I think this is why they've lost the narrative around the Israel Palestine thing, because the majority of people don't like what they're seeing. It doesn't matter how you dress it up.
Mm,
And I mean, we did talk about this before, didn't we? Where I was saying, you know, if you've they the Zionists were so good at conflating anti-Israel with anti-Semitic that now it's almost impossible for people to separate them out again now. And you've got Jewish people joining the marches saying, not in our name, that we not, no, 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 no. So anyway. So what are some of Suella's greatest hits? What have you got for us?
well, I think for me, the one that particularly stands out and um, is their comments about homelessness being a lifestyle choice. You know, it's just like where does she come from on that? Does she even know any people that have had hard times? You know, that one stands out for me like a sore thumb. That one really does. Um, it just shows complete and utter not only loss of touch with reality, but of the people that make up your voter base. You know, and I think that comment did a lot of harm to her aspirations.
Yeah, where does she actually come from? Because you had a look, didn't you?
Yeah, so she was born here in the UK. Her parents, I think her mother was from Mauritius and her father was from Kenya. And then she was born in the UK. And did she also make that comment once about um, people whose are born of foreign mothers when she's born of a foreign mother herself, you know?
That for me, that was going to be my number one. Was her saying that the problem is all of these babies born to foreign-born mothers, and I'm like, that's literally you. That's literally you. And do you think it's cognitive dissonance, psychopathy? Um, because I can't understand how she can't see the irony in that.
Yeah, maybe she's just following a script.
Yeah, who wrote it for her though? I wonder.
Yeah, that's the story, I think.
Yeah, no, that was yeah. So definitely that one about foreign-born mothers. And I mean the other one which I thought was like really again, she just got to look in the mirror where she said that where is it? Um, she said Indian migrants are more likely are the largest group of people who overstay their welcome.
Yes.
Uh, I just, oh boy. What do you think of that one?
Yeah, I mean, like she expressed reservation about the government's plans to allow more visa flexibility for people coming to the UK from India. Um, and that led to raising concerns about Indian migrants overstaying their visas. Now, India is part of the Commonwealth, as is South Africa. And that's how a lot of South Africans have been able to come to this country. For example, I was able to come to the country not through ancestral claims because all my grandparents were born in South Africa, but all their parents were born here. I was just that one generation out. So I had to come through on a work visa. And because South Africa by then had become part of the Commonwealth again. Those work visas. It was a shortage of skill visa. I came to this country to work as a radiographer in the NHS because there was a shortage of skills there. And this is basically the same kind of idea, giving them more flexibility to come to the UK from India, a former colony, part of the Commonwealth. I don't see the issue with that, but you know, the fact is, look in the mirror. Have a look at your own heritage. Where does your own heritage come from? So it's like, yeah, maybe it is psychopathy.
I must admit, I wondered at the time if it wasn't a dig at Rishi Sunak's wife,
Could
because
be.
obviously Infosys is a big offshoring IT company. They probably bring people in and out all the time. Well, I know just from my work in the public sector, there's a lot of Indian offshoring companies that parachute their guys in and out, and they can be here for a certain amount of time, but not more than a certain number of days in a rolling cycle. But they can come here, and obviously, emphasis clearly leverages that to reduce their headcount costs. So it could have actually been a swipe at Rishi's wife. And, I wonder about that maybe. So yeah, give us another one. Okay, so what have we had so far? So we've had, um, sorry, flu brain. What was your first one?
Rough sleeping.
Oh yes, the lifestyle choice. Um, and then we had, what was my next one?
um, yeah, it was about the extended visas for people of Indian origin and how
Yeah,
they're the most likely to overstay their visas.
yeah. Um, oh, that was it. It was the children born to foreign-born mothers. That was the other
Yeah.
one. So, yeah, so that's the first three in our Suella's greatest hits episode. We're going to go to a quick break, and when we come back, we'll go through some more hits. See you in a bit.
Did you know we've got an absolutely wonderful merch store? You can buy merch from the show. You can buy this mug, which supports my rugby team, the Sussex Dragons. This is one of my favourites. This is best part of waking up, turf tears in my cup. We also have t-shirts, which support my rugby team, and t-shirts which express our dissatisfaction with England rugby for the way they've treated trans people. And for you bikers out there, we've got our Sisters on Steel Motorcycle Club. Scan this QR code or follow the links on tigergirl.substack.com. Now back to the show.
Welcome back, beautiful and amazing human beings. So, of course, this wasn't Suella's first bite at the cherry, was it? In terms of her being foreign secretary, because Liz Truss appointed her originally, didn't she? And she lasted like 2 weeks in the job.
Yeah, so
What happened there?
she was initially appointed Home Secretary by Liz Truss, probably a backroom deal kind of thing because Suella was in the same leadership contest. So it's like, well, if you stand aside, I'll give you one of the big jobs. How about Home Secretary, kind of thing? And yeah, she was only in the job for a short while, and then she had to resign, but she was effectively sacked as Home Secretary after leaking confidential cabinet papers. So she'd sent documents from her private personal mail email account, and that was against the security and ministerial code of conduct. So she left. Otherwise she would have been sacked anyway. And then, of course, Liz Truss's premiership fell to pieces, and a week later, after she had resigned, Rishi Sunak reappointed her as Home Secretary. So, it's like, what was the thinking there?
It does make you wonder, um, where does her power come from? Because, you know, she obviously felt very comfortable behaving the way she did and felt untouchable and felt she could do all of these things with impunity. And it does make me wonder what her base is, what her power base is, you know? Um, so yeah, I think that for me is, I do question. You wonder, like, do they all just have the goods on each other? Do you think that's what it is? These people, they've all got goods on each other, and they just grey mail, as we talked about last time, blackmail each other and say, "Oh, I'm going to get you if you do this," and yeah, so it does. Because often, when somebody's forced out of the cabinet, there's usually like 2 or 3 weeks later, there's something gets leaked. And if you're not like joining the dots, you don't realize that the two things were actually connected and that that person got booted and then, pulled up from their bottom drawer and leaked it over to the Daily Mail. Um, but yeah, I mean, it just somebody so woefully incapable. And I was listening on over the weekend. So this was obviously before she had resigned, to Times Radio, and they had an MP from every party. So they had a Tory and a Labour and a Lib Dem present, and they were asking them, is her position tenable and all the rest of it. They all pretty much landed on it's not tenable and she's going to have to go. But the thing which I found most interesting was that they were saying that, oh, I've lost my train of thought. So another one of my favorite Suella greatest hits was the speeding row, where she she tried to arrange a private, what do they call those courses? Speed awareness course.
Speed
Because
awareness
she didn't,
courses, yeah.
yeah, because she didn't want to have to go and sit in with all the other people doing their speed awareness course, which was a breach of the ministerial code. I mean, that should have got her booted. I mean, under any other government, anyone else seen abusing their office in such a way, um, you're the Home Secretary, for heaven's sake, you know? Um, It's like somebody working for TFL getting caught fare dodging on the network.
Yeah.
That's literally her job.
Exactly.
Is
So
it's
she was actually accused of breaking the ministerial code of conduct because she asked civil servants to arrange a private speed awareness thing. Um, and I mean, that's quite a big thing, breaking the ministerial code of conduct. You should not be a minister if you break the
yeah,
code. And again, Mr. Sunak faced a lot of pressure to take on, and he took action by having it independently reviewed by an independent ethics advisor who advised that no further investigation was necessary. You know, and again, it's just like, come on, you know, you shouldn't have appointed her in the first place, but you did. Why? And then it's like all these things happen, and you know, it's like you still haven't. Does that show the that you're playing the long game because you want kind of like the right wing conservative party to, you know, um, whose issues she did touch on a lot. Do you want to do that, or what is the story? What is the game that you are playing?
yeah, yeah. And it does I mean, yeah. What an absolute peach. Um, I'm struggling to keep a straight thought in my head today, folks. So we're not going to do the full hour. I'm afraid we're going to go to music after the second break because
Yeah.
I can't keep it. I keep having
Same.
great ideas and things that I want to talk about while Lee's talking, and I'm sort of formulating them in my head. And then by the time she finishes talking, I'm like, what on earth was I going to say? So, um, but I was having a look. Let me track back and see what I was looking at. Yeah, she called the Labour Party, the Lib Dems, as a coalition of chaos. It's the Guardian reading, tofu eating, wokerati, dare I say.
Yeah. And I mean,
And
I
they,
think she largely does appeal to the right wing of the Conservative Party. You know, the things that she discusses would be something right up their alley. But um, you know, like you said, is it because they've got a huge base, or is it because their small base makes a lot of noise? You know.
I, I really do think that that's the case. I think that um, they think they've got lots of support, and this is where I just wish an election would come sooner. Just so we can put to bed: do people really feel this way, or don't they? Because it's been so long, and we've had so many different prime ministers and so many different cabinets, and stuff that was promised by Boris. His oven-ready Brexit deal, which he didn't even have the ingredients put together. Um, the incompetence, um, and I do think they only won the last election because they were most equivocal about, they were clear, we will get Brexit done. And unfortunately, Jeremy Corbyn was a bit wishy-washy on it. And I just, my thing at the time was, just take a stand, take a position. And he didn't. And I think people found that disingenuous. So I think, that was the thing, just, I think he felt maybe that it was the wrong thing to do Brexit. But given his trade union credentials, the trade unions were up for Brexit because they were saying it's foreign labourers. That sort of comes back to our Suella thing, um, because they blamed foreign labourers for bringing down wages. And yeah, and that reminds me. Yeah, the thing that I was thinking about was this whole. You alluded to it a little, a few minutes ago. Is this Rwanda thing? Um, so they want to put asylum seekers on an aeroplane, send them to Rwanda, and then what? So what
Process
if
them
they're
there
up?
for a silent claim, apparently, allegedly.
So then, if they get asylum, how do they get back then? Do they fly
They
them
put
back?
them on a plane and fly them back again.
I wonder though. I mean, that was one of the things that they were saying on Times Radio was that Rwanda is one of those countries that has a very poor record on gay rights. And a lot of asylum seekers, especially from the Middle East and Africa, Uganda, are seeking asylum on the basis that they're gay, and that could have them put in prison or even killed. So what? We're going to send them to a country that has their own people running away because they're gay. Um,
Yeah,
you see,
but
that's
according
strange.
to according to Suella, those people are gaming the system. They're not actually gay. And that was another controversial statement.
Yeah, that was another greatest hit, wasn't it? Yeah,
Mm,
they're just
it
pretending to be
was,
gay
yeah. That's
to
it.
to claim. Ah, all I can say is I'm just jolly, jolly pleased to see the back of her. I'm not convinced that we've seen the last of her, unfortunately. I think there's a very good chance she will weasel her way back in because I
Mm.
think she's clearly got some receipts. And yeah, I think she thought she was untouchable. I do think probably the thing that broke the camel's back was her. I mean, what's interesting is none of those other things, all the other things we've talked about with her greatest hits, none of those were resignation worthy. And yet, under any other government, any one of those things would have been a reason to get her to step down. It was only when she spoke out against the police and said, they're being biased. And it's even the reporting over the weekend and into Monday was quite interesting because yeah, there was some violence at the pro-Palestinian march, um, but it was because there was a group of 100 or so broke away and went off and did their own thing, and they were the ones who were setting off the fireworks. So it wasn't within the. I mean, they were saying it's like 300,000 people. So 100 out of 300,000, um, by any definition, the majority of that, the people who were there to peacefully protest. As for the EDL, I mean, it just astounds me that in this day and age, we are floating so close to the fascism of Germany in the 1930s. And I was watching a thing with Donald Trump over the weekend, and I mean, his speech was almost beat for beat what Hitler said, you know, communist vermin, and he wants to deport woke people, um, and lock up his political opponents. We're just stumbling headlong um, into chaos, and I really hope, because their elections is in November next year. That's when we have to have had them by then. And I just really hope that by this time next year, we've got rid of this rubbish. I think we've taught. I love my sort of tipping points, and I think we're at a tipping point. We're either going to tip into fascism, or people are going to say, no, 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 that's not what we want. So that's kind of as much as I've got to say.
Yeah. And I agree with you. I don't think this is the last we will hear from or about Suella Braverman. And I think possibly this could give her and her supporters in the right wing faction, um, it kind of like a springboard for perhaps another Conservative Party leadership bid. Given her history of rebounding from setbacks and her alignment with certain factions in the Conservative Party, I don't think a leadership bid can be ruled out. So I think that was perhaps the kind of like gamble that Rishi Sunak took, was perhaps he felt that she doesn't have enough of a base, of a backing, and to get rid of her now, um, considering that she might now launch a leadership um, bid. I think he's probably calculated that she wouldn't have enough support.
It's only to Labour's advantage, because I think one of the problems the left has always had is our vote gets split between like Greens and Lib Dems and Labour, and the Tories always own the right. And when UKIP dragged the Overton window so far right that David Cameron had to cut a deal with Farage in order to get UKIP to back out of the election, because otherwise, they wouldn't have won that election because of this. And it's just nice to see the right wing getting split for once. So hopefully that'll work in our favour. But guys, I need to go to bed. I'm not feeling very well. I've got a bit of a playlist that I will play you out with, and I'll keep you company until 4 o'clock. But yeah, I think I'm done talking. How about you, Lee?
You've done very well, and drink plenty of fluids and take care of yourself.
I will. Thanks, everybody. Take care. Bye.
The world's largest radio station for the trans community. Trans Radio UK. Wow.